here we are. We're back. We're back. Welcome back. If
You're back.
you're
You're back. I mean, if anyone's back, you are back
you're
because
back,
you
baby.
weren't here. You
I
were
wasn't.
there,
I
and there's
wasn't
become a
in the.
thing.
This is not a green screen, guys. That's a real wall. That is a map from National Geographic in a. My wife painted this. This is wood. I don't know if you can see.
Wait, really? She
You know,
painted it?
she painted the frame, not the map itself. That would be crazy. No,
I'm
I'm back.
starting to realize, thanks to our amazing Substack post, that Shira is a really high functioning person. Like she's an overachiever, and of course I'm referring to the recently wrapped Winter Olympics, to which
Yeah.
she's more related to than you or I, because she was I mean, how would you describe her figure
Yeah.
skating career?
We can't clip this because she'll see it, but and she didn't. Luckily, she doesn't listen to the long form. But she was a competitive figure skater all through the end of high school. Almost went to Disney on ice, and her mother said, "I am not letting my daughter skip college to go be a teacup in Europe." And she said, and how little my mother-in-law thought that she wouldn't get to be one of the princesses or one of the main characters, that she would have to be, anyway.
She
So she
really
went.
said that? She just thought she'd assumed she'd be the teacup?
I mean, that's the line that, it's a pretty good line. It's a well written,
Is it a Neil line or is it the mother-in-law line?
no, no, no,
Or
no.
mother?
This is a third hand, like supposedly Shear's mom said something like that, which, at this point, this is now 30 years ago, 20 years ago when that
Mhm.
would have happened. So, yeah, no, she was a competitive figure skater. And so, so here we are we're back in Brooklyn, but we were in Mexico for a week and during the Winter Olympics. And my wife downloaded a VPN so that she could make sure that she didn't miss any skating while in
That's
Mexico.
what the
And so she
VP.
was
Wait,
literally
you
sitting
can
on a
watch it there? That's so
yeah,
weird.
sitting on a pool chair. Well, yeah, because like when we would give the kids the tablets and they try, I can't get into Netflix because it says we're not in the U.S. I mean, look, I mean, some serious stuff. We luckily got out of Dodge before the cartels started burning up the entire country. Well, really not where we were. We were in Cancun, and that's Puerto Vallarta, but still pretty scary. I think it would have been scary if we were. We would have either could have gotten stuck because of the snow or the cartels, or anyway, we had a lovely time. It was my kids' winter break or midwinter break, whatever you want to call it. Yes, that's a thing. And we came home to snow days. Lest we thought after, 10 days of being with our kids 24 hours nonstop that we'd be able to shuffle them back into the clutches of our public school system. No, we were told, no, no, no. You have to be with them again on a Monday.
Yeah, no learning.
No, so we were with them, and we had a lovely time sledding a little bit, and we're back. But so yeah, I was in Mexico, and I have so much to tell you about Mexico, Ollie. It was my first time, long time, first time,
Wait,
long time fan.
whoa. You've never been to Mexico?
That's right.
Wow. Where do you go on vacation all this time?
Well, we're gonna do a vacation app. I think it's important that we do a more robust, thorough vacation app. But I will tease the
Okay.
fact that, and my wife was kind of the same. We didn't really go many places as kids, and I think we're trying to make up for that and give our children. I
Right.
mean, where did we go? We went to Lake George, we went to California, like,
When you say that, it's like such the East Coaster, like, yeah, we'll go to that California.
yeah, I
You
mean,
make it seem
like
like it's so
we
far away.
weren't like sedentary, like we can't get on damn planes,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like, we were gallivanting around the country or the world. And so,
Mm.
yeah, but so I had never been to Mexico, the country. Wonderful place. Love it. Anything that guy Donald says, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's great, great culture, great people.
Yeah.
That guy's
Yeah.
That guy doesn't know what he's
Yeah.
talking about. But so
Yeah.
we were there and we were at this beautiful all-inclusive, our second time doing an all-inclusive, which we swore we'd never do, which my take, and Shearer doesn't agree, I think an all-inclusive is basically a cruise on land.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Well, here's the thing, though, is you're not necessarily as stuck, right? Like, I've done a number of all inclusives, and I've done ones where I'm not trying to be mean. Well, you know what? Who cares? I'll say it. I went to a wedding in an all inclusive, and the food was awful. Like, it
Okay.
looked fine. It was so bad that at one point we all ventured got in the cab and went to like a taco stand and ate wonderful food
Good.
because the food we had was just like bad. It was
Well,
not
I'll tell
good.
you, the one we did last year in the Dominican Republic, the food was okay.
Mhm.
And I don't begrudge anyone. I understand it must be very difficult to prepare non-stop meals for thousands of people. Like it's not like you're, doing like, I'll make the one perfect steak, Michelin James Beard's like that's freaking hard, I get it. So I was like, it's good. It's fine. It's good enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But so we chose a place that was known for really good food. And I got to tell you, the food was really freaking good at
Where did you stay? This is
we stayed
great
at
to
this
know.
place. It's called X Caret, Xcaret, X Caret, Mexico. Now, buckle up, Ollie, because the way we were able to make this work, we had flights on points,
Mm. Mm.
and of
Mm.
course, you know, not the points guy, but I'm like points,
Yeah, yeah. That's how you do
sometimes,
it. That's how you play the game.
and we were able to get it. This is a very expensive, all-inclusive destination, but it's slightly cheaper if you agree to do the presentation.
You did the timeshare. You know
And
what's funny? He texted me this, folks, and I was so 120,000% not surprised that you did this.
we
Keep
did
going.
this. So Shira got this code on Reddit of like, because she's such a good like internet sleuth researcher, and these people who are members of the X Caret Club or whatever were like, hey, use our code. That's what a smart thing to do. You go on Reddit and you share your code, and so we use their code to, but
Hmm.
then we have to agree to do the presentation, and they make
Mm.
you do it on your first day. So we land, we go to bed, we wake up, and they're like, you got to do this presentation, and they say it's 90 minutes. Now, of course, I'm working through this entire
19
vacation.
or 90?
90.
Got it.
But wait. Do you think it was really just 90 minutes, Ollie? So I'm working through this entire thing, and I think, oh, okay, well, it's a 60 to 90 minutes, so I'll be back for my meeting, upstairs, and I can go do my meetings. Um, and we're approaching the 90-minute mark, Ollie, and we are nowhere near. It's a lot of, tell me how you vacation. Well, what are you guys interested in? I mean, like it's a lot of like it's a fishing expedition for this woman,
Yeah.
Patricia, who's a lovely salesperson, really just trying to get us to commit today to the $113,000, over 30 years, over 30 years. So it's nothing basically, a 10% APR.
Mortgage.
I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? Just to be locked into a contract with some Mexican uh, hotel property that who knows what our relations with this country will be in 6 months, let alone 30 years. Yeah, sure, let's lock in for
That
130,
price dipped.
the 10%
If you
APR.
went today, that price would have been like, it's now 70.
Well, we're approaching that. I mean it, and this woman made me feel so bad, like I had done something. I was like, hey, I really have to go. Do you always work on vacations? And she looks at my wife and goes, he really can't turn it off, huh? And I'm like, well, I got to pay for being here. I need to. It's not
Did it
that big of
really
a
get under
deal.
your skin? Did it really get under your skin? Or are
She
you
was
playing this
making me
up?
feel really bad. And then I felt bad because I had to leave Shira alone with the kids at this like timeshare room, which basically it's like speed dating. You have all these people that are just like, yeah, because it's all these different tables of people kind of one on one being like, all right, let's make a deal. It's like, let me sell you this. And
Oh,
I'm upstairs and I'm just going to kind of read you the correspondence with my wife while she's stuck in this presentation.
wow. Man.
And yeah, so I go upstairs to take this meeting on a Zoom, and I texted her at 11:36 our local time in Mexico. I'm still in this meeting. I say, "Are you okay down there?" She said, "You know it. They brought me another drink. Did you make your meeting in time?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm signing us up for the black package." I said, "Wait, what?" She said, "It's a good deal, 30 years." Wink. This is how she messes with me. $9,000. It's a deal for silver. I said, "Oh, okay." She said, "Platinum's 252,000." I said, "What happened to $300 for the year?" Because they were telling us that like for $300 a year, you have access to this special platform. And if you log into the platform, you get all these prices that no one else can see. You can't find them on booking.com or Expedia. It's their thing. You want to go to Japan? You want to go to Cuba? You want to go anywhere in the world? They can get you the best deals. All you have to do, Ollie, all you have to do is pay $300 a year. And you're going, well, that's not so bad. I go upstairs. All of a sudden, we're at $250,000. What has changed? She said, so I said, what happened to the $300 for the year? She said, oh, that's extra. Also $150 a year for a general membership. Okay. So then some time passes. I said, any update? And she said, they went to the manager, giving me a special deal. I said, Jesus, I'm so sorry, and thank you. I guess it's good I left. I said, did you find out what our reimbursement is going to be? Because they kept saying, like, oh, you'll be reimbursed. You're only reimbursed for your current trip if you commit to all these future trips, right? She said, I'm still here, new offer. I said, are you okay? She said, okay, now we are at 7 nights free and a trip to Turkey. I said, OMG, Shira, when can you just pass? Are the children safe? Are you okay? She said, I don't know. I live here now. I said, did they have a gun to your head? She said, $20K all in, $6,400 today. They just keep lowering the price of what we would have to pay. I said, okay, so how much money are we getting for sitting through this, and how will we receive that money? She said, oh, plus $4,000 in cruises. I said, cool. The kids need lunch. At this point, it's like 1 o'clock.
Whoa. So when did it start?
9? 9.
Oh, this is like a half day of work.
Yeah. I said, can you tell her my husband wants to know when my kids can have lunch? She said, yes, they do. And then I said, well, what about the reimbursement? And she said, dude, we are so far past that. I said, I thought we were getting reimbursed for this trip we are currently on. And then this is in all caps. I don't know. I'm in a deep sales pitch. I said, same woman still? She said, feeding me booze, adding other nice women. I said, they brought other people in? She said, yes, her and someone else. I said, fuck. She said, it's 2-on-1. I said, I thought it was 90 minutes. And she wrote, I live here. I said, I don't want to go to Turkey. I want my kids to eat a turkey sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
She said, when are you done? I said, 1:30? She said, gotcha. They are offering to put me to put down $1,239 to hold the contract. If we don't sign, it goes away. They send the contract. I said, no, thank you. She said, you aren't here, Neil. You don't know the stress. I'm out the door, and now a new offer. Now down to $12,000. I can't follow any of this math, by the way.
Yeah, sure. It's just a lot of money.
And then the other thing that Shira told me is the woman said, Mexican law, you have 5 days to change your mind. You have 5 days to change your mind. As if, oh, sure, we're going to sign this contract and give you our credit card information. And then it's like, you know what, actually, we changed our mind. And they'll be like, of course, let's get that process done right away to invalidate all of this. Because Mexican law, I don't even understand American law. I don't even think American law matters anymore. You think I'm going to get into Mexican law? Anyways, she said, I'm trying really hard to leave. She's doing more math. Neil, I can't leave. I said, okay, I'm coming. And she said, don't be mean. I'm very close with Patricia. Patricia was the initial salesperson. It was kind of a good cop, bad cop situation. The woman they brought in was very mean and very angry that we didn't sign. So I come down.
Whoa.
They
So
give
you
us
wrapped your call, though? The call was done.
They gave us a break. They said, look, take an hour, think about it, come back. They wouldn't let us. I said, well, could we just sign? Say no. They think about it and come back. They wouldn't let us say no. So we go eat lunch because we should do that. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Our kids were very patient. Granted they had tablets, so they were watching in paradise. And we go have lunch, and I go back down, and I'm like, hey, I'm here to sign. And she goes, well, where's your wife? And I said, well, you said that just one of us needs to come. She said, no. One of you need to come if you're signing and buying a package. But both of you need to come and sign if you're declining. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And I was like, she's upstairs with the kids now. And they said, well, can they come? And at this point, I'm texting Shira, and she's like, we sat there for 4 hours. Are you kidding me? And I kind of like lost it a little. And I was like, no, it's not happening. I'm signing. Give me the paperwork. And finally, I kind of got her to agree. And this guy was like, all right, let me bring you to like where we sign and you decline. And, it's like a whole thing. You have to sign paperwork that I am not accepting this timeshare.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman, Patricia, said to me, I would have wrapped earlier, but your wife just kept asking questions, like putting it on her. And I told Shira that, and she goes, well, I asked to leave many times, and she just kept saying, no, wait, 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 wait. So a little bit lost in translation here, but suffice to say, the next 5 days were wonderful.
Mm.
We had a wonderful time at this resort, and I kind of appreciate having to get that out of the way and not have it looming over you. And if we had signed anything and accepted any package, I would have been miserable the rest of the trip with regret. Now, we think my take on all of this is there's a lot of suckers out there, and we are New York, jaded, pessimistic, cynical assholes. We were never going to sign anything.
Well,
Like,
yeah, sure.
what a waste of their time. Waste of our time, but also a waste of their time. Like, if I'm you, get us out in 90 minutes, get on to the next person. But I guess, they got to do their due diligence. And anyway,
Yeah.
this place is amazing. We went zip lining. There's a whole water park where it's called Senses, and you fly like a bird. They strap you to this thing, and you're like basically like a bird flying around.
Hmm.
We went through this pitch black jungle where you have to just rely on like every other sense besides your eyes, which was terrifying, and the kids did it too. Anyway, it was a lovely time. And we did this kind of like boat pontoon thing the last night, and we were like the only Americans there. Everyone else was speaking Spanish, save one Canadian couple.
Mm.
And so that was kind of authentic. It was one of the more authentic things we did, and you get to hear mariachi at all the different places they bring the boat to. So all in all, a great time.
Wow. Yeah, I gotta tell you, it does make me literally say will never do something like that. But it does remind me of one time where I had a similar experience that I was I went to like a 24-hour fitness. I was like traveling for work, and you can just have a free initial session, right? It's like, oh yeah, you can work out for free, and if you decide to join, you can. So I went there, and you meet some guy, and he's like super cool, and he was like, yeah, well, obviously we'd love to have you sign up, whatever, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good, but just you play the game. Like I'm kind of curious, right?
Sure, 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 sure,
And
sure.
then he's done. It's like 15 minutes. Then the manager shows up. This
Ruh-roh.
dude, yeah, this guy. And the funny thing is, the first guy was like a big, jacked, ripped dude. You're like, oh yeah, this guy's a trainer. The manager was not. The manager looked like he needed to sign up as bad as I did. Actually, way more so. Way more so. I mean, he wasn't morbidly obese, but he like sat there and just freaking worked. We got into a whole thing where basically it came down to this. It's like, yeah, I just want to like try it out. I like to exercise, like to work out here and there. And he goes, well, here and there won't get you results. I mean, what you need to do is like have a program. And I'm like, yeah, I just like to like release tension, whatever. I kept doing this whole thing. And he then took it to this level. And I'm curious, when you had the bad cop in there at your timeshare experience, where he's like, well, that's not a way to live your life. It sounds like you don't. I mean, he basically went on the attack. He went on the attack and like took it personal and like just really, really went for it. And that's when, much like how you were saying, I'm a New Yorker. You're not going to get me. I was like this. You're not going to get me. You are not going to win. And I won't let you waste my time. I'm
Mm.
going to waste yours. And so the best part is I came with my buddy who's a member. He did his whole workout. He literally looked at me. He goes, "Oh my god, you're so tired of this guy." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool, dude. I'm down." And I dug in there, and I was probably there for like 2 hours, and then I worked out, and then I was there for like the rest of the week. I was down in San Diego for work, and I would see him, and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" Like I like rubbed it in his face, and part of me was like, it wasn't worth it, but now I also love the fact that I kind of like showed some teeth, showed some grit, and showed 24-hour fitness. I don't need to fall for their hustle. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I haven't belonged to a gym in many years, but I do remember similar difficulty getting out of a contract with a New York sports club in particular. It's
How'd
a
that
chain.
work out?
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't go there anymore. Um, Part of the interesting thing about vacations too is, you meet these. Oh, you know what else we did? First time we did the kids club. You know about the kids club?
Yeah, I'm aware of
Not the
them.
Burger King kids club, the
Yeah,
vacation.
you like leave them there. It's great.
I know, and I was so reluctant to doing it. And at some point, towards the end of the trip, we met this other kid who was doing it, and Cece was like, "I want to do it with them. They seem nice, or whatever." So we
Hmm.
tried it for a few hours, and it was fine. Seems like they were in good hands. And Shira and I got to go like paddleboarding while they were, and it was when you're literally tethered to your kids constantly, when you can just be in a river without them, it's kind of neat. Um, but I'll tell you a couple incidents, not incidents, but things I want your take. So, part of the charm of these all inclusives, of course, is the food, the abundance of food,
Hmm.
the not, when I say the food, I mean the not having to get a check. The oh, I don't feel
Yeah,
guilty.
yeah,
Finish
yes,
this drink or this plate or kind of I don't know if I want this. Or you can get whatever you want whenever you want, which is a whole other thing, which we'll talk about. But as a result, there's every station. There's a carving station. There's tacos. There's pizza. There's everything. And so often there's like ice cream. Like my kids were online for ice cream
hmm,
at the end of a meal. And I think this is a lunchtime thing. And it's a long line. And this other kid cuts the entire line, maybe a little bit older than my kids. And we heard his dad go, it's fine, just go in front, just go in front of everybody. And my wife goes, hey, there's a line. And the dad like rolls his eyes and tells his kid, this lady, all right, just whatever. He's blaming my wife for basically just saying, "Hey, all these other kids are waiting. Line of kids. Why would you go to the front?" And I think it's such an interesting situation, right? And it tells you that like 15-second interaction tells me so much about who these people are
hmm,
and how they live their life, right? Because I think it makes sense that a kid would cut a line, right? Like that's normal. And I think oftentimes, you would see our a parent respond and say, hey, come on, let's get to the back of the
right,
line. Or maybe even if you know someone in line, you can go stand with them. A little bit controversial, but at least there feels like there's a rationale there. Well, we're together, fine. But this idea that this father not only told his son to cut the ice cream line, but then when confronted with the fact that, hey, you're cheating here, you're a cheater, he was like, ugh, this lady. Like, dude, you're doing something wrong. Anyway, I just, I'm excited to see that kid become a Supreme Court justice one day, and I really hope that he doesn't strike down any more fundamental rights that we
they'll
have.
probably get rid of that branch of government by then.
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Maybe he'll just work it in finance. But what's your take on that? I mean, like when you see other parents telling their kids to cheat, like what are you supposed to do? Just
I
allow
mean,
it to happen?
I think that there's obviously like this is wrong and it sucks. And part of this is what I kind of said in the early days of being a parent, which is you all of a sudden realize being a parent means dealing with adults you would never want to deal with ever, ever, ever. And that therein lies the context. But like I'll say this, like Brearley's from Philadelphia. She would definitely be like, she would say something. You know what I mean? And also, it's like wrong. I mean, it depends. Like is what it is this is like if it was really cutting me off, it was really jacking my day. I could see myself not saying something and saying something, but it's still wrong. And like there's the funny thing is I can picture this guy so well, and he probably drives a Corvette, and he probably goes there, and he's would say offensive things about the country he's visiting. It's like it's all these things. It's like, and then that kind of guides my action. Is like, all right, I already know this guy's a d bag. The question is, how will my day get better or worse? And if it would get better by confronting him or saying something, sure. Would it get worse? And it's not out of fear, it's just out of being practical here. You know what I mean? Like the other thing too is the other move you could do is just wait for that kid to sit down and then run over and take his ice cream. And
But
just be
then
like,
you're but then you're
"Ugh." What
You
do you
know?
think about that?
Yeah. No, yeah, I hear that approach. You know, I guess the bummer of it all is that there really was no lesson learned, because it's not as if the father or the son went, huh, that's right, I shouldn't have done that. The
Yeah, yeah,
doubling down, this lady, like, shows me this is how you live your life is take what I want and I get it. I think I may have told you this, but we were talking to this woman once and we were talking about, that phrase, you get what you get and you don't get upset, which is a little bit controversial, right? Because you want your kids to be able to feel upset if they feel upset. But, it's this idea of like, hey, let's live in reality. Let's deal with consequences. So we were talking about this with a Williamsburg parent, which we've talked about Williamsburg a little bit
yeah.
more a little bit more cheddar over there uh,
Mm-hmm.
on the whole. And we said, oh yeah, the kids are getting told a lot and learning. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. And she said, well, I always tell my daughter, you get what you get, and then you get what you want.
Yeah, you did tell me this line once. That's awful. That's awful.
Which, by the way, as I say it, like it sounds like a Real Housewives tagline. You know, you get what you get, and then you get what you want. Do you
Yeah, it
know,
does.
like, are
Very,
you familiar
very
with these Real
much.
Housewives
Spot
taglines?
on. Yeah, just shameless greed. Basically, you're a soap opera villainess. You know what I mean? Like it's like those old '80s shows, Dynasty. The many of the mean lady wives or whatever on Dynasty and Falcon's Crest would. That's.
Really dating yourself here, but yeah. Um, by the way, I just pulled up because have you ever watched The Real Housewives?
I don't watch that newfangled TV. I watch Dynasty and Fantasy Island. Yeah, I have. I have. I
Okay.
have. I will admit I have.
Well, good. So you're
Been a
familiar with
long
the
time.
taglines? You're familiar with the taglines.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was like probably 2010.
Okay. I mean, it's a trope now, but every episode or every season, the stars have a new tagline, which is supposed to encapsulate their personality. And so they're like this. I'm quoting now. These are Real Housewife taglines. I'm an enigma wrapped in a riddle and cash. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready?
Sure.
Here's another one. I'm not a bitch, but I've played one on TV. Ready?
Yeah, yeah.
My advice: speak your mind and carry a good handbag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready? I'm not the richest girl in Beverly Hills, but I am the luckiest.
It's kind of like, yeah. I like the one that's just more shameless. But yeah,
Life in Beverly Hills is a game, and I make the rules.
there were ChatGPT could have come up with something better. But sure.
This is years before. Oh, this is a good one. This is like a AOL away message, like getting deep. Ready?
Yeah.
Don't tell me you're my friend. Act like one.
Hmm. Yeah, that kind of is like we get what we get and we don't get upset.
Well,
I'm
Patrick,
kind of curious
there.
about that line. Was that something you heard as a child?
I never heard that. Don't you get what you get and you don't get upset? I never heard that. I think I heard more like you know how lucky you are? Or like you should be grateful or stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. I actually heard that line literally. It was actually one of the most refreshing things I've ever heard, and I loved it. But I learned it on set with a producer, and it was so nice because I was so used to having people like flip their shit and just be like, "Ah, I can't believe it." And I had a guy going, "Yeah, we get, we get, we don't get upset." It was meant to be heard by adults. You know what I mean? And I have a very different POV on that line because again, it was just like, okay, we're not curing cancer here. We're making a TV show, or we were making a TV show, but it was more the commercial world where I remember like you just have some guy being like, "Why is my lunch late?" Yeah. So I was just kind of curious, if that's how Neil grew up.
Hey, what would your tagline be?
We get what we get. We don't get upset. You know what? I think that's it. I think, it's just like that's, it's all good. It's all gravy, baby. Oh, how about that one? It's all gravy, baby. That's a good one. I think that's a good one.
That fits the host of Cheap Eats. That makes sense. Or I'm sorry, the host of Is It Worth It?
I thought it was World's Greatest Hit podcast. Apparently, it got canned already.
Here's mine. You want to know mine?
Yeah.
Everything in moderation, even moderation. Huh? Huh?
You just turn it into a freaking dadism.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
on fire with dadisms lately, and like
Tell me
he's
more.
just like, oh my God, he'll roll his eyes and just punch me. And I just say dumb stuff. I mean, I don't even think it makes sense. Gibberish. We were driving past one of his, actually, it's kind of weird to say an ex friend. You know, as a classmate. They used to be friends, like close friends. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
enemies, but you know, they're not like they don't hang out. And he's like, yeah, Bennett got a haircut. And I rolled down the window and I was like, hey, Bennett, I like your fade. And Heath's like, that is not my God, oh my God. He was so embarrassed. Yeah, which is what I like to do. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's my line. You know what I told him? I turned to my head and I said, it's all gravy, baby. Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be your like, did I do that?
My God, man, did you think Urkel was funny? You were a child with him. I was a preteen.
I took that show and all media quite seriously. So, did I think he was funny? No, I don't know if I thought he was funny, but I enjoyed the situational comedy of it all. I
Okay.
mean,
Like, so you were kind of like the Winslow. You were a Winslow. You were just like rolling your eyes, like, oh, Steve Urkel.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. I want it to be a Winslow.
Yeah. And like when I would watch it, I'd be like, oh my God, this is like, fingernails on the chalkboard. But I watched it like all the time. Like I didn't touch the remote. I was just like, this show's like so dumb, but I still
No,
watched it.
hey, it's a rare condition this day and age. Reading the good news on the newspaper page. Let's move on. But before we do, I do have to
Mm.
tell you about one other interaction, and I'm curious your take. We were at the pool, as you do on vacation, and
Hmm.
you don't see a ton of people reading. I shouldn't judge. I'm not the most voracious reader these days. But I saw this guy with a book. And usually you see like airport novels, mystery of whatever, or beach reads. And he was reading this book called Flesh, which I happen to know because I do read reviews of books. It's like one of the like, it's like a literary fiction of the year. It's, all acclaimed. And I was like, oh, wow, interesting. He's reading like a hot New York Times book.
Hmm.
Then I find out my kids are talking to his kids, and they're from Brooklyn, of course. Of course. The Brooklyn dad is reading this,
In New
this,
York.
yeah, 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 right? He's not reading the airport shit. And I'm talking to this guy named, this is his real name, Brogan. Okay. I'm not going to tell you his kids' names because that feels inappropriate. But we were having a decent chat, and he's like, "Is it your first time here?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, and he's looking around, and he goes, "This place is crazy, right?" He's like, just the abundance of it all. And he goes, I mean, how many avocados do they go through every day? Now, I later find that they own a home in Bed-Stuy, Bedford-Stuyvesant, which is a gentrified neighborhood. They're white, I should clarify.
Hmm.
They also own a house upstate, Ollie. And they
Hmm.
also perhaps paid full price to be at the same all inclusive in Mexico that we did. And I'm like, I mean, not to my knowledge. And I guess what I take umbrage with is like this idea of can you believe how many avocados they use here? And it's like, dude, you live in Bed-Stuy. Like you're the problem. Like they're using the avocados because of you. And me too. But I'm not gonna criticize them for it. Anyways, so that's Brogan.
Was that his tone? Was he like, this is like excess?
Hmm.
That's hilarious because you're the. I mean, you can't. I see, because I was missing. I thought he was curious. See, I'm someone like that. I'll go to the grocery store and I'll be like, "Who buys all this chicken?" But I'm more like kind of like Winnie the Pooh about it. Do you know what I mean? Like just kind of pontificating in the 100 Acre Wood. But this guy's just like, God, the excess. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, broken. You know what's broken? You. That's crazy.
You're saying his name is Broken.
Yeah. Wait, is that his name?
Brogan.
I thought his name was
Which is
broken.
basically if you were going to like come up with a name for Joe Rogan, that is like an epithet, you would say, "Oh, Brogan." He's listening to Brogan.
Honestly, I wished his name was broken. You know what I mean? That would have been even, Yeah, yeah. Seriously. Yeah, my parents named me broken. I went to private school. I like my version more.
I'm actually from my dad's third marriage, but the first two didn't work out. Well, neither did the third, but It was
This is
fun while
Ian
it lasted.
Rogan. That's so
Hey, should we
crazy.
go to the mailbag?
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that old?
Let's do
Remember that
that.
old
I
one?
remember that old bit.
It's piling up, Ollie. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
have
cool.
bags, sacks full of mail here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
sacks full, sacks. All right. Speaking of Brooklyn, Tanya from Brooklyn says, Dads, I've noticed this trend recently where dads in my community are doing more. Pickups, drop offs, making lunches, scheduling playdates, and I'm all for it. But what I can't stand is the immense praise they are getting when moms have literally been doing this forever and
Hmm.
it's just expected. Why do dads get praised for trying while moms get blamed for everything that goes wrong? I find this double standard to be infuriating, but then if I voice this to anyone, I just come off like a jerk. What are your thoughts as the world's greatest dads?
Well, I mean, part of it is just the general cultural shift, and I think some of this should be embraced because it's like, oh wow, dads can do these other things as well. But you're not wrong to say, you know, that moms have been doing it the whole time too. I just think sometimes, look, as we all know, the world's not all sunshine and rainbows, and I think a lot of people don't get the due credit they deserve, especially moms. So I think it's in all of us to find our own way to advocate for ourselves without having to disparage or bring down others. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Good answer, huh? Not bad.
You
And I
know,
didn't use chat. That was the old noodle.
off the dome, baby. I think I've said this before. If not, I'll say it again. My wife likes to say that she feels that dads take parenting pass fail and moms take parenting on a curve. And I think that's what the writer is speaking to here. And I'll say, I think I'm passing. Are you? Are you passing the dad course?
I just man, not yesterday. Oh, man, I had a big fail yesterday. I literally, Heath does club volleyball. He does a practice that's a bit of a drive away. I picked him up. I was supposed to remind him to get his volleyball backpack. I didn't. We had to go back to the school to get it. And then I'm like, no, it's fine, man. We've got extra time. Practice isn't till 6:30. Practice was at 5:30. It was 5:15. I literally gulped. I turned off watching Paradise episode 3 season 1 with Sterling K. Brown to be like, "Oh my god, let me check my phone." And the nightmare ensued. I grabbed him. He was like, "Dad, I can't believe this. The damage is already done." Grab him, get in the car. We were an hour late. It was not good. So, I don't know. The semester's not over yet, but it's looking a little dicey. You know what? I'm due for some extra credit. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, and this is the time where maybe the professor pulls you aside and says, Mr. Khan, you're in danger of failing.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
to get your act.
Thankfully, I'm a little aware, but sure. Thanks for that.
There's always time, right? There's always time. There's a great line from I don't know if it's Grumpy Old Men or Grumpier Old Men, but he says it's never too late. That's why God invented death. Yeah, never too
Mm.
late. It's never too late. That's why God invented death.
That's really interesting if you think about it. When there was a time in the 90s when they were like, we need a sequel, what should we call it? And the solution was grumpier old men, dumb and dumberer. That's what the studio came up with. They
Liar,
could have used a
liar,
change.
er,
Wait, was
backpack,
that what it was called? Really?
No, they didn't do a
Damn
sequel.
it.
Liar, liar. It was a
I know you.
perfect film. Why? How could you sequel that? The Godfatherer,
Now you're talking the 70s. I said the 90s. You're taking my entire thesis and throwing it
Jawser.
in the shredder.
Speaking of the '90s, do you know what my kids watched this weekend or on their snow day? Um,
Mm.
Started out with Princess Diaries 2. It was good. It was fine. I had never seen it. Chris Pine is the love interest. Didn't realize that. Speaks to how long ago this was. He's doing a Disney film. But then, Ollie, my kids watched Mighty Ducks and Mighty Ducks 2. And God, I gotta tell you, what a ride. What a ride. Have you seen the films?
I don't know how I missed watching Mighty Ducks. I don't know. And I was a huge Emilio Estevez fan. Big fan of young
Apparently
guns.
not big enough.
Well, I've watched Young Guns and Young Guns 2, which is actually better than Young Guns 1.
Okay.
Better film. Like Godfather
Yeah,
2 is
yeah.
better than Godfather 1. Young Guns 2 is better than Young Guns 1.
Okay.
Emilio's done so much. He's done a lot. Men at work. But yeah, I was happy for Mighty Ducks. I know a lot of people liked it. Much like hockey itself, it was one of those things that was kind of popular around me, but yeah, it was a slap shot I never took.
Okay. Well, do you know like the premise of Mighty Ducks?
A bunch of kids, they want to play hockey, they win a game.
Boy. Well, you're close. It is a kid's sports movie. I think what's so cool about it is, and I think this speaks to a lot of the films from when we were kids, there were more adult themes than you often get. I think it's even films are even more sanitized now. Maybe
Hmm.
because the world is so messed up, you don't need to inject a little gritty reality. But like the way the movie starts, the reason Gordon Bombay, Emilio Estevez, becomes their coach is he gets a DUI and he was a former hockey player
Oh,
who never
goodness.
got a shot, who like, you know,
Mm,
he messed up an important shot in a pee-wee game and he never went on to be the NHL star he had hoped to be. And so he became a
hmm.
lawyer instead. Things aren't going great. He gets a DUI and the judge sentences him to community service as a hockey coach of a pee-wee league.
Oh,
I mean, that's pretty smart, right? That's pretty clever.
part of it seems grounded in reality. You know what
Yeah,
I
well, I
mean?
mean, it's a little bit giving the Seinfeld, plot of like I'm sentencing you to be his butler, like,
Mm,
they're like really, this is the sentence. It's just like just give him a fine, put him in jail for a little bit. But so he takes over this hockey team, and I'll tell you, it was just such a joy to watch. It's as kids sports movies go, I mean, there's a reason it succeeded. It's very well written. You have a young Josh Jackson, Pacey Witter.
wow, good to know.
Yeah, and he's in all three, by the way. He's the star.
I
I mean,
didn't
the
know
key
there was
star of
three.
all three. Oh, there's three, baby. Emilio Estevez, by the way, wrote a fourth that he's trying to get made, but I don't think Disney's biting. And the fourth is, I believe, the premise is that like Joshua Jackson and Keenan Thompson come back to help him with like a new team. Anyways,
Mm,
so my this is why I love my kids no matter what. But I also love when they're really funny. And
hmm.
Zeke, because like Cece's like really takes it really seriously, and she's like, "What's gonna happen?" And Zeke goes, "They're gonna win. It's a kids movie."
That's amazing.
Is
That's
that good?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
He
I mean
wasn't afraid.
that's
He wasn't
amazing.
afraid at all. He's like, yeah, of course they're gonna pull it out. Like, what do you think the Ducks are gonna lose? What do you think this is like some existential comment on like what is winning real? It's like, yeah, he's like, of course the Ducks are gonna win. It's a freaking kids movie. Come on, man.
Well, I for me, what's fascinating is I really got a taste of what it's like to have two children because you literally look at your kid and go, "Oh, what's Heath gonna think, right? How's he gonna interpret it?" But then when you have more than one child, you can go, "Well, this is a child who, as with people, some people are like, oh yeah, I totally fall for the suspension of disbelief, which is how one enjoys plays, movies, whatever. You know what I mean? You're just like, I'm in it. That which is what Cece's doing, and Zeke's just like, I already know. I knew what this was going to be when I, frankly, saw the thumbnail on Netflix. Right? It's yeah, the Mighty Ducks. It's not the loser Ducks. They're mighty. They're
Yeah.
gonna win.
Did you know, by the way, that there's a Mighty Ducks hockey team? Well, now they're called the Anaheim Ducks. But did you know
Yeah,
that they were created because of the movie?
yeah. No, no, no. That is the one thing that was kind of yeah. What is it? Or no, life imitates art, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
did
mean,
you know
Disney
that?
movie. It's in Anaheim, Disneyland. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Did you know
Crazy.
that Disney no longer owns the team?
No, I didn't know
Yeah, they
that. Who
sold it.
owns it?
They sold it, I think, like ten years ago for $75 million. Dollars. They were losing tons of money, and I guess, they don't know how to run a hockey team, turns out.
Yeah, I don't know who does. Maybe Charlie Sheen does. They're brothers. You know what? Maybe they should put Charlie Sheen in Mighty Ducks 4.
Yeah, a lot of frenetic energy. Although I think he's better now. Speaking of two kids, and I don't know if you're going to have any advice on this, but let's just try. Jason from Hoboken writes, Dads,
Mm.
our first kid was an excellent sleeper. So good, in fact, we decided to have another. And this baby will not stop crying. All night, every night. Nothing seems to soothe this baby. We are going out of our minds, and our 5-year-old is definitely not getting the best version of his parents right now. The only advice people seem to want to give us is this will pass, and frankly, I'm sick of hearing it. What is some real practical advice that will help before I throw myself out a window? Okay, Jason.
I'll say this, and it gets me to this day when I decide to not be the parent that's trying to raise an independent child and actually make Heath's bed, because it bothers me sometimes, Neil. I look at his bed unmade and I just can't. It's my ADD. I'm like, I have to like make the bed just because it doesn't bother me. But he has a weighted blanket. And I did not grow up with a weighted blanket. I didn't know they existed. And at some point, I don't know, Beerly's like, yeah, we need to get him a weighted blanket. Thing is like chainmail. It's like, if it wasn't there, making his bed would take 2 seconds. But that's something that Heath dealt with. And what's crazy is, if he has a sleepover, he like brings it with him. I'm like, you don't need this. You just sleep. But that is something that we have done. Obviously, it sounds like this person's first child was an easy one. I suggest a weighted blanket. P.S. That thing came out later. That wasn't like we needed it when he was
Wait,
4. I don't know about the version we have. Admittedly, I knew nothing about weighted blankets, but the one we have, I would not recommend that.
okay, here I did a Google, if you trust this Google machine. Weighted blankets are generally recommended for children ages 4 and older, weighing at
Hmm.
least 30 to 50 pounds. So it sounds
Okay.
like he's not in that territory yet. But when he does, if the kid's still experiencing a tough time, maybe try that. I also, we never used it but because it was too expensive, but the snoo, I think you can rent them. Have you heard about this? Like they have these like
No.
magic machines. The snoo is here, the snoo. It's Smart Baby Sleeper in Bassinet. The happiest baby snoo smart sleeper is an FDA authorized high tech bassinet designed by Dr. Harvey Karp to soothe babies 0 to 6 months using gentle motion and white noise. Maybe there's an off brand version of it now. Anyway, check that out, man. The
So,
snoo.
let me tell you what we used, and this was highly not officially authorized, recommended. But we had this like thing that like it swung. I don't know if it made noise, except the noise that the machine would make, but it would just kind of go back and forth gently, right? And like we put Heath in that sucker, like 0 to whatever. And then one day we were at the freaking doctor, and they were
Mm,
like, "Yeah, that's how we sleep." And they were like, "He sleeps in that thing?" Like they were like, "Not." So, but we had some DIY, not official, probably not endorsed safe by the National Pediatrics, but we did something like that.
Can
This
I
was
tell
back.
you, we had something similar for Cece that was later recalled because of deaths. And it's one of those, but she didn't die. I mean, but
Well,
like enough
right, I don't know.
it
What do
died
we?
that they were like, I don't think this should be on the market anymore. And then you go, ooh, and so we threw it away and didn't use it for Zeke. But then I think about like when we talk about our own childhood, and it's like, well, we were in the back of the station wagon, with our face pressed up against the glass, and we're here. And it's like, yeah, by some miracle, we didn't die. And so like we made it through. But yeah, we do not recommend those. You should definitely go for the FDA approved products. If you still trust the FDA, I don't know, under RFK and all that stuff. But I guess for now, if they say it's fine, go with what the FDA says. Maybe not just
Maybe talk to your doctor. You know what? Let's take it out of the hands of the guy who was doing blow off the toilet seat. Maybe the doctor who you see on a more regular basis. But yeah, yeah, no, we had. It's so weird. The snoo. I think we had something like that. Yeah, look, to our dear friend who wrote in, um, I'm just gonna say what you didn't want to hear in the first place, but
okay.
this too shall pass.
Well, speaking of doctors and doctor recommendations, Evan from Denver writes, "Hey dads, we just moved to Denver. Shit, Evan. Hey dad, we just moved to Denver from the East Coast and have started making friends with other families. There's one family we've gotten really close to, but recently they've been hinting that they are anti-vaccination and have made subtle nods to conspiracy theories about autism and vaccines and other weird health statements that my wife and I aren't really comfortable with. They're both chiropractors, and I know they see medicine differently, but how can we ask them to keep their medical points of views to themselves without pushing them away?"
I'm gonna do you a favor. 3 words: make new friends. Also, chiropractors aren't doctors. The problem with the whole my body, my choice as it relates to vaccines is your choice affects other bodies. I have a very strong position on this, and it's based on growing up with parents who came from the third world who would literally say, if we had access to medicine, more people in our family would be alive. And when I got my first taste of anti-vaccination, way before it became, in my mind, a widestream political movement aligned, frankly, with MAGA. But no, I met the hippies. I'm talking the Hollywood hippie people who'd be like, "I just think we vaccinate too much," and I'm like, "I think you didn't go to college. I think you're a casting director." And I am going to talk to someone who had 8 years of actual science and training to get my information. But hey, you do you. Just don't sneeze in front of my kid. There you go.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah. Well, it's, I saw something recently that said it's so interesting because you don't trust the doctor's recommendation for vaccinations, but when they get sick because they don't have the vaccinations, where are you going? You're going back to the doctor. All of a sudden, you trust them? Just trust them in the first place.
yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, the other thing too is I got a taste of this, and that's what to me is very fascinating. The whole future episode here, the anti-vaccination quote conversation is my experience with it with some people who, oddly enough, were all, I'll do the demo. They were white female casting directors in Hollywood, would be like, oh, I think one person's like, we didn't vaccinate our second kid or whatever. Just the idea. And then this one particular person, she basically sought out her own doctor. She had the money to do it too. You know what I mean? And that's another thing. It's literally like concierge medicine, but it's like I can afford to find someone who will prescribe what I think is the best course of treatment, not what's just generally considered the best course of treatment. And that's kind of a reality. And to be fair, you know, there were certain things that common thinking in the medical sciences is incorrect. That is wrong. How far have we come with the dangers of smoking? Like that wasn't, I mean, that wasn't, they didn't, that wasn't nailed out the bat right. Like there's medical science, to be fair, is evolving, right? But damn, dude, really? I don't know why my watch is talking. Everything's going off right now. Your phone's been ringing, the calendar dung, my watch is talking to me. I think it's the anti-vax movement. It's really seeped into
Well, what's
technology.
crazy is I think there was a recent case with a mom, but I guess I was just looking it up. There was a dad last year who his daughter died from the measles. She was not vaccinated, which is a terrible thing. But to add, tragedy on tragedy is he really made headlines because he said, Texas dad, Texas, there you go. This Texas
Not
doesn't regret not vaccinating daughter after she died of the measles. Peter Hildebrand. And what I would say to that Texas dad is, I regret that you were a dad because
yeah.
um, I don't think you made a right decision. And then you very clearly made a bad decision, and then you doubled down on it. It's like sending your kid to cut the line for ice cream, and then you get called out on it, and you're like, this lady. It's like, no, no, you chose not to vaccinate your kid, and now she's dead. And you're like, yeah, I don't regret it. You're a fucking murderer. You're a bad dad and a bad person. Is that a hot enough take for you on World's Greatest Dad?
You know what? It's weird. It's one of those things where it's like this is an opportunity where it's like hot take versus sad take, and it's just a sad take. It's a sad thing that this whole conversation, not what you're saying to a degree, but a person can be like, oh, do you regret not vaccinating your kid? It's like, come on. It's just like, hey, turn the lights on when you can't see. It's just a very simple thing. It's just a tool, just a light bulb, just you use it and it works, but
We wanna say her name was Daisy Hildebrand, and what a tragedy that happened to her. I'm sorry, Daisy, that your parents didn't allow you to get vaccinated. That's terrible. The dad described his deceased daughter as a playful, kind child. And he was quoted as saying, like I said earlier, she was always happy, always playing. She always cared about other kids too, you know? It's going to be hard moving forward. I know that for sure, but I guess that's our only option we got. Yeah, now, because you chose to not vaccinate your kid because you're a jerk.
I don't know, man. Like, it's pretty baffling. You know what? I don't need to Google this. I already know. That is something that, you know what? It just comes down to this. That could have been prevented. Why is the conversation anything but we should prevent this? Like, I don't know, unless, you're pro 5-year-olds dying from diseases that have had cures around for a very, very, very long time. Way to take it back to the 1800s, you know? Yeah.
Listen, Evan from Denver, you heard it here. Make new friends.
Yeah, dude, don't be playing games with that BS. I'm just saying it. And like a chiropractor's not a doctor. Although I'm happy to plug any chiropractor that could maybe, make my back feel a little better. Actually, it feels great. But I'm willing to lie because we are looking for money.
Leave it there.
Yeah, man.
Like, subscribe, and rate us in the iTunes store.
Yeah. It supports the pod.
Yeah.
If you stuck around to this part, and if we've alienated some of our anti-vaxxer audience or anyone who just moved to Denver. Oh, you moved to Denver? Yeah, no shit.
Here they have great
Classic.
omelet.
I just moved to Tom from Denver, writes. Hey, I just moved to Denver. Best mailbag ever. What a setup.
We'll see you next time.